Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rama Rama Mahabaho, Krishna Dushta Nibarhana, Ito Vidure Sumahad, Vanam Talali Sankulam. Rama Rama Mahabaho, Krishna Dushta Nibarhana, Ito Vidure Sumahad, Vanam Talali Sankulam. Rama Rama Mahabaho, Krishna Dushta Nibarhana, Ito Vidure Sumahad, Vanam Talali Sankulam. Rama Rama, O Rama, Mahabaho, Almighty Armed One, Krishna, O Krishna, Dushta Nibarhana, O Eliminator of the Miscreants, Ita, from here, Avidure, not far, Sumahat, very expansive, Vanam, a forest, Tala Ali, with rows of palm trees, sankulam filled. The cowherd boy said, "O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, destroyer of the miscreants, not far from here is a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees." Purport. As stated in the Sri Varaha Purana, Asti Govardhanam Nama Kshetram Paramadurlabham Mathura Paschime Bhage Adhurad Yojanadvayam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, at a distance of 2 yojanas, 16 miles, is the holy place named Govardhan, which is most difficult to attain. It is also stated in the Varaha Purana, Asti Talavanam Nama Dhenukasura Rakshitam Mathura Paschime Bhage Adhurad Eka Yojanam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, 1 yojana away, 8 miles, is the forest known as Talaban, which was guarded by Dhenukasura. Thus it appears that the Talaban forest is located midway between Mathura and Govardhan Hill. The forest of Talavan is described in the Sri Harivamsa as follows. Satudesha samasnigdha Sumahan Krishna Mirtika Darba Praya Stuli Bhuto Lostrapasana Varjitaha. The land there is even, smooth, and very expansive. The earth is black, densely covered with darba grass, and devoid of stones and pebbles. Om Agyantimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Milidam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jutha Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajataham Sahakana Laduditham Bidham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadudam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahakana Lalita Sri Vishakambhitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaudangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suthe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibarhana Ito Vidure Sumahad Banam Talali Sankulam. O Rama Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, destroyer of the miscreants, not far from here is a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, entitled The Killing of Dhenuka, the Asti. Text 21. I'd like to welcome some special guests with us today. We have His Holiness Niranjan Swami Maharaj. Very dear friends, Sharon Gannon is here. Could you stand up for a moment? She's a great lover of Krishna, and she's the founder of one of the most prominent, wonderful yoga centers in all of the world, Jiva Mukti. Our dear brother Yogeshwar Prabhu, Joshua Green, gives Gita classes there, and she's like a mother to me, like a goddess for so many. And her, no, stay up, please. And her nephew, Jules, please stand up, Jules. Wonderful soul. Please let us very enthusiastically welcome them to Radha Gopinath. And two of my dear friends, Zach Leary and Narayan. Can you both stand up, please? They are both from California. Narayanji has a place called Narayan Mandir, where he invites sadhus to give kirtans and lectures in the beautiful hills of Hollywood, California. And his wonderful friend who loves to serve. And Zach he's the son of one of the great icons of my generation, Timothy Leary, and he's a dear friend. He loves kirtan, he loves japa, he loves Krishna, he loves everyone actually. So let us very enthusiastically welcome them to Radha Gopinath. In this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes how Krishna entered into his Poganda Leela. From his appearance in this world to his 5th year is the Komar Leela. And from the 6th year to the 10th is his Poganda Leela. And it was when he was about between 5 and 6 years old that Krishna was entrusted the care of the cows. Previously, he took care of calves. There was, Jiva Goswami tells how there was a meeting because they asked Krishna, do you want to take care of the cows? And he said, no, I'm just an infant. I'm too small, I'm too young, and they're so big. How will I take care of them? So the Nanda Maharaj and Upananda, Abhinanda, Sunanda, Nanda, Nandana, they all met together in an assembly to discuss. And the Gopas were telling Nanda Maharaj that it's not we have seen what Krishna and Balaram have done. But whoever he shows his attraction to come completely under his control. So he loves the cows, so his love for them will control them. So there is no problem. But Krishna loved the cows and the cows loved Krishna. They were controlled by each other's love. That is Vrindavan. Vrindavan, nobody wants to be controller. Everyone wants to be controlled. Everyone wants to be under the control of others' love. That is opposite of this material world. Bhagavad Gita gives the example of a banyan tree on the banks of a lake. That the reflection of the banyan tree on a still lake looks just like a banyan tree. Except in the reflection, the roots are up and the branches are down. So similarly, this material existence is a reflection of this spiritual existence. But things are very opposite. In this world, people want to be the enjoyer. People want to be the controller. But in the spiritual world, people want to be enjoyed and controlled. Even Krishna. Krishna is conquered by the love of his devotees, and the devotees are conquered by Krishna's love. And in that interaction, everyone is conquered by each other's love. So on the day of Gopastami, the 8th day of the waxing moon in the month of Kartik, it happened to be a Wednesday that year, they had a beautiful ceremony. Because in the Vedic culture, there were so many celebrations. Any opportunity there would be celebrations to invoke auspiciousness. It's like we read about every year there would be a birthday for Krishna or Balaram, and they would stay home that day. And it's not that everyone came and gave them gifts. Krishna would give everyone gifts. He would be giving so many charities to Brahmins and charities to Gopas and charities to so many people. Because the idea in the Vedic culture is the real blessing comes spontaneously from the hearts of people who we serve nicely. To get something physical is not much of a gift, but they have the opportunity to serve, seva, and to serve with love. Because if you don't serve with love, you don't really please somebody's heart. The thing could please the mind a little and the senses a little. But if you give something with love, it pleases that person's heart. And when you please the person's heart, especially great saintly people, then Krishna is so pleased that you have pleased that devotee, that from the heart of that devotee, Krishna transmits the most precious, invaluable blessings. There's the saying, in giving we receive. The origin of that saying, in its purest and highest state, is seva, unconditional service. As soon as there is a desire to control, there is a desire to enjoy, there's any selfishness, it's not seva. It's service, but not seva. Seva means offered either with unconditional love, or if we're not on that platform, with the intent of unselfish, unconditional love. So on that day they had Brahmins chanting mantras, and they were doing yagyas, and they had kirtans and everything to inaugurate Krishna taking care of the cows. It was They had big feasts. It was wonderful. And then Krishna and Balaram with his gopas, the cowherd boys, they sent the cows, because usually when you herd cows from behind, yes? How many of you have ever herded cows? Please raise your hands very high. Anyways, usually you're behind them but none of the cows would go. Krishna would go, Jai, Jai, like that. And the cows would just be looking at him with loving tears in their eyes. And then the gopas said that they're afraid that if they go ahead, you might not be right behind them. They can't stop looking at you. So better you go in front of them. So that was his attraction. So he would go in front. They had little sticks, but they would never hit the cows or the bulls with the sticks. Had the sticks to lean on when they were tired and all of that. And to play with. They played so many games with the sticks. And there's a very well-known story that on that first day, Yashoda, Krishna's mother, personally with her own hands made nice little shoes for Krishna and Balaram. Because after all, the calves, they were taking care of them, but cows go much farther away. So you're going to have to go long distances. It was barefoot all day. I made nice shoes for you. And Krishna told his mother that I am the servant of the cows. When I go out, I am going out of love to serve these cows. So how could I have something that they don't have? Unless you make shoes for every hoof of every cow, I will not accept shoes. And according to Padma Purana, Krishna had 900,000 cows in his herd. So what's 900,000 times 4? And Yashoda Mai, she couldn't possibly make that many shoes. So Krishna went barefoot. And as he went barefoot, the very ornament of the whole earth was every one of his footprints. And everyone in the Vrindavan forest were loving devotees. The peacocks, the parrots, the monkeys, the tigers, the deers, the boars, whoever was there. They all had a meeting and unanimously inspired one another that wherever there is a footprint of Krishna, that is a holy place of worship, and we should never step over it and never step on it. We will preserve it for all as far as possible. So this was how they did. And Krishna took many, many footprints. And anyone who saw it, because when they would see his footprint, they would remember him. Tadit. Tadit means that which is connected to Krishna or to a great soul. Those things awaken the bhava of our affection. And therefore they are, in that sense, non-different. The paraphernalia or the property of a great soul is non-different than the great soul, because just by seeing it awakens our remembrance and we feel their presence. So on this particular day of today's verse, the gopas, the cowherd boys, they are expressing to Krishna and Balaram. They're addressing Balaram as having very long, strong arms, because he hasn't yet. This is going to be the first time where Balaram is going to reveal his strength. Krishna, he liberated Putana and Trinavarta and Bakasura and Vatsasura. But But they wanted to see Balaram reveal his strength. So they planned it out. They said, we are very hungry. And just close by there is a forest. It's just between Govardhan Hill and Mathura. It's called Talavan. And there are so many tal fruit trees. Very large. Very beautiful. It's such a wonderful, wonderful panoramic view, this forest. And just now, there are limitless, fresh, ripe, fragrant, sweet tal fruits blossoming on the trees. And there are so many they are falling to the ground. And can't you smell it? The breeze is carrying the sweetness of these fruits to our nose, and we are becoming intoxicated. We want to enjoy these fruits so much. But this is the headquarters of Dhenuka, one of the very, very powerful assistants of Kamsa, who has assumed he's a mystic, who by his developing siddhis, yogic siddhis, he has such power, he could change his form. And he's taken the form of a gigantic ass. And anybody who comes to his form, to his forest, he eats them alive. Whether it's a human, whether it's an animal, anybody. And he will not allow anybody to touch the fruits. There's so many. He can't eat more than, he doesn't even eat. He's not even vegetarian. He doesn't even eat the fruits himself. But he won't let anybody else eat them. This is the nature of envious people. Even if they can't enjoy something, they don't want anybody else to enjoy it. A saintly person is paradukkha dukkhi. Another's happiness is my happiness. Another's suffering is my suffering. But the opposite of that, if I can't enjoy something, no one should enjoy it. No one should be equal to or better than me. So this was his mentality. So they were telling Krishna, but these fruits are so nice. Can't you smell them? And there's so many. They're just all going to get rotten. So Krishna Balaram, please pacify our hunger by going to the forest and let's eat those fruits together. Because if you go with us, there's nothing that Dhenuka or anyone else can do to harm us. What's beautiful about this is they actually were not concerned with eating the fruits. The fruits were so nice. They were like the world's best fruits. They wanted Krishna to eat the fruits. But they knew, this was the psychology of bhakti, they knew if they said, Krishna, we want to get those fruits for you, Krishna would not have been so enthusiastic. Because Krishna is more concerned with his devotees' happiness. So they were pretending that they were so much eager for these fruits. Because they knew if we tell them we're hungry and we want the fruits, then Krishna will definitely get them. But actually, we just want them to eat them. But if we tell them that, we want them for you, then Krishna will say, oh, so many other things I can eat. So they were pretending to be hungry and actually, it wasn't just pretending, because in the spiritual world, whatever your desire is, it's when you desire, it's chintamani dham. Whatever desires we have is fulfilled. So they wanted to be hungry just so that Krishna would go to enjoy the fruits. So they actually became hungry. But they weren't hungry for themselves. They were hungry for Krishna. Does that make sense? It actually doesn't make sense. That's called achintya. If everything Krishna did made sense, what is the value of being the absolute truth? So achintya shakti, his inconceivable potencies, and Sri Radha, his pleasure potency, is inconceivable love, and Sri Vrindavan Dham is where the inconceivable potency and the potent are having eternal pastimes together. So the ultimate potency of the Lord is his Leela with his devotees, and it is inconceivable. When you and me get hungry, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about me. I need food. Yes, I need water. Don't feel bad about it. It's natural. You don't get into some psychological, depression if you're hungry. Why is it I'm starving, I haven't eaten in days, and I'm thirsty, and why am I not thinking about the deities eating? You are what you are. But this is the spiritual world. And as you make spiritual advancement, it actually becomes like this, where the bhava, the sentiments of your soul, begin to manifest more and more. So the gopas are actually hungry. But they're not hungry for themselves. In their hunger, in the growling of their stomachs and the parchedness of their mouth, they're just feeling the desire to give food, to luscious fruits to Krishna. That's their hunger. They're hungry for Krishna's service. They're hungry for Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna is the same way for his devotees. So Krishna and Balaram, if you want these fruits, then we will go to get these fruits for you. Now if they said, actually it's for you, that would have spoiled everything. But this is the exchange of love. And you may think, well, if Krishna is the absolute truth and he's the Paramatma in everyone's heart, then he knows that they're just saying this. Yes? He knows that they're only hungry for him and they only want the fruits for him, so why they're playing games with each other like this? He knows. But in his knowing, even makes the relationship deeper. He knows that they are only speaking for him, for his pleasure, and they know that he's only speaking for his pleasure, and this is what activates all the pastimes of the spiritual world. Because Krishna knows, even if they're hungry to give me, it's going to make them happy if I eat it. So I will eat the fruits just to make them happy. Hari Hari. The same kind of lila took place in the Yajnik Brahmins. We saw that drama during our drama festival, where Krishna and the Gopas were in the forest. And this was the day, I think it was the day that it was getting late. And they hadn't had their lunch for a long time. So Krishna understood the hearts of these Brahmins' wives, how they were so much longing for the darshan of Krishna. So Krishna told the Gopas, The Gopas were hungry. They said, Krishna, we're very hungry. Again, they were hungry because they knew that Krishna didn't eat all day. So Krishna said, oh yes, then you should go to these Brahmins. They are performing a yajna, a sacrifice. And at this particular time in the sacrifice, it's very auspicious for them to give food and charity. So the boys were really excited. They had a mission from Krishna. And Krishna, they went to the Brahmins, and the Brahmins were performing their mantras and their yantras and their tantras and their mudras and their pujas. And the boys were saying, we're hungry, can you, oh best Brahmins, we offer our pranams to you. You are like gods on earth. You are so much, merciful and kind and compassionate to all beings, and you're giving the transcendental knowledge to everyone. Well, we are very hungry, and Krishna and Balaram are very hungry, so please give us some food. We see so much food here. And you know what the Brahmins did? They did their mantras and their tantras and their yantras and their mudras and their pujas. They completely ignored the boys. Because after all, they're doing something very, very high. According to Vedas, they're chanting so many slokas and they're making all of these offerings. And these little cowherd boys, covered with dirt and smearing their bodies with all kinds of minerals and decorating themselves with leaves and feathers that they find on the ground. They totally ignored them. Now, it's one thing to be accepted, and it's another thing to be rejected, but to be completely ignored, that gives you no relevance whatsoever. Yes? At least if someone rejects you, they're giving you the significance enough to reject you. And if somebody accepts you, that means they're really seeing some significance in you. But if they totally ignore you, as if you were invisible, as if you didn't even exist, it's very painful. So the boys, what was their pain? Their pain was not that their egos were crushed, because they have no egos. Their pain was they couldn't get any food for Krishna, and Krishna was hungry. They were pretending to be hungry just because they wanted Krishna to eat. And Krishna sent them on a mission, and they came back empty-handed. And they looked down and said, Krishna, they wouldn't give us anything. They wouldn't even look at us. They didn't even acknowledge that we existed. What kind of Brahmins are they? They're supposed to be merciful to everyone. Krishna smiled. He was very happy. He said, that is the way of begging. When you take the role of a beggar, sometimes people give and sometimes people don't give. You can't be attached to either one. Krishna tells in Gita, we shouldn't be attached to success or failure, honor, dishonor, victory or defeat, happiness or distress. We should be attached to our seva, because nothing could interfere with the bhava, with the desire to please the Lord. What the results will be, that is unpredictable sometimes. But the sincerity of our effort, that is within our control. So Krishna said, go to the wives of these Brahmins. They are simple ladies, but they have pure love for me. And the boys, well, how, if their husbands who are doing the whole yajna or controlling all the food and everything, if they're not allowing, how are their wives going to be able? Krishna said, go to them. They will do anything for me. So they ran and went to the wives and said, Krishna and Balaram are hungry. Do you have food? Ah, yes, of course we have food. And the husbands are doing Om Swaha Swaha. And then all of a sudden their wives come running by and start taking all the food. And the husband, where are you going? They didn't even bother to answer. They just left. And they said, you can't go, you can't, this is food, you can't do this. If you leave, you're not allowed to come back. They went. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshai samima sucha. This is the culmination of Bhagavad Gita. That abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender to me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. They had so much faith, that they were willing to abandon their homes, abandon their wealth, abandon everything, just to please Krishna. One time. And they went holding all these baskets in their arms, on their heads. They were so many baskets and pots. They went deeper into the forest. They were anticipating so much. And Shukadev Goswami tells in Srimad Bhagavatam, they had never seen Krishna before. They had never met Krishna. It's just that when they would go shopping in the little marketplaces, the Brijabasi ladies who were selling the milk and selling the fruits and selling the grains, they would always be talking about Krishna. Jive biba swami tamata deva govinda damodara madhaveti. This beautiful prayer talks about whatever the gopis were doing, they were always singing the names and glories of Damodar, Krishna. So as they would go shopping, they would just overhear them talking to each other about Krishna, but they didn't talk. The Brahma Samhita tells that in Vrindavan, all speech is song, all walk is dance, all water is nectar, and the constant companion in everyone's heart is the sweet sound of Krishna's flute. So these gopis, whether they're harvesting fields, whether they're churning something, whether they're selling something, they're constantly singing the beautiful stories of Krishna. Our acharyas tell how when Krishna would go into the pastures during the day, when they would come home at the time of sunset, the gopas, all his friends, they would tell the gopis all the beautiful stories. They would tell their mothers and their fathers and everybody of what happened that day. And there were endless incidents that took place every day. Jiva Goswami explains, if someone had 10,000 mouths, how many of you would like to have 10,000 mouths? Well, if someone were to have 10,000 mouths, even if the greatest of all poets and composers had 10,000 mouths, and with all those 10,000 mouths was to sing Krishna's glories for 10,000 years, he couldn't describe even what Krishna did in one day. That's inconceivable, but that's Krishna. What most people can't do in hundreds and thousands of years, Krishna could do in a day. Because you see, we are controlled by time. But Krishna's the controller of time. When he performed his Ras Leela with gopis at night, he extended one night into 3,420,000,000 years. Hare Krishna. Now, how can you put 3,420,000,000 years in 8 hours? That's Krishna. So they would come back from the pastures and they would say, Krishna did this, and at noon Krishna did this, and we played this game, and then Krishna said this, and Krishna smiled like this, and he told us this joke, and then we wrestled, and I beat Krishna. And the gopis would hear it with so much love that they would compose beautiful poetic songs about what they heard and what they would see when Krishna would come back. So they had unlimited, beautiful, beautiful bhajans that they would sing about Krishna. And as they were selling the fruits, they would be singing together. And these just by hearing about Krishna, these ladies, their hearts were completely captured. Total love for Krishna awakened in their hearts. And it was Vipralamba Bhava. They were yearning to meet Krishna. And Krishna knows everything, because he's in their hearts. So he told the Gopas, go and bring them. As soon as they had that opportunity, they surrendered everything. They were getting chastised. They were getting ostracized. They were getting forbidden. But they went anyway. And one lady, she was physically held back and she couldn't go. And in the fire of the separation from Krishna, her soul went to the spiritual world and her body just ended. And all the other ladies, they were thinking she's better than us. So they all went, and they're going through the forest. And their hearts are beating with anticipation, pounding with anticipation. They heard so many descriptions of Krishna's beautiful form, and they were about to meet him. And they came to a little clearing, and there was Lord Gopal. He had his arm on the shoulder of one of his friends. He had his flute, and he had beautiful flowers decorating his ears, hanging from his ears, and a peacock feather on his hair. His complexion was like a newly formed monsoon rain cloud. His eyes were like large, beautiful, shining lotus petals. His nose like the sweet sesame flower. His lips were like freshly cut bimba fruit. His teeth like rows of pearls. He had a beautiful golden garment that over his shoulder and his dhoti, it looked like the flashing of lightning. And he had a lotus flower in his hand, and he was twirling it and smiling. When these ladies saw this darshan of Krishna, tears poured from their eyes as offerings of love, and they offered their body, their mind, their words, their hearts, their souls to Krishna. What could they speak? And Krishna looked at them with such happiness and welcomed them. He said, "Welcome, O ladies. I am so happy you have come. Now you have seen the beauty of this nice forest. And because you have forsaken everything and taken such risks just to please me, I am completely satisfied. Your love has conquered my heart. But you have duties at home to your family, so you should return home." this was the last thing they wanted to hear. They said, Krishna, don't be so cruel. Don't send us home. We've abandoned everything just to be with you, and now you want to send us home? We have no other duty except to please you and to serve you. The Bhagavatam says if you water the root of a tree, then naturally that our love, if you water the root of the tree, the water goes to every part of the tree to nourish it. So similarly, when we serve Krishna with love, our love extends to every living being. But this is an interesting scientific analysis from a bhakti perspective. Because when you water the root of the tree, does the root keep all the water for itself? It's not that the root just, okay, I have all the water, so every branch and every leaf and every twig and everyone else, you be happy because I have all the water. Does the root do that? The root's nature is when it gets the water, it actually shares that water with every part of the tree. It sends the water to every part of the tree. So Krishna is Bhaktavatsal. When you offer your love to Krishna, Krishna shares, he shares his love, he shares our love with everyone. In this way, the ladies, the Brahmins' wives, they were giving nice philosophical explanations to Krishna. They were kind of teaching Krishna the Bhagavad Gita. How can you send us home now? We've already abandoned everything for you, and by satisfying you, our husbands, our children, and all of our duties, everything is fulfilled if we make you happy, Krishna. Krishna said, yes, that's true. But what will satisfy me is if you go home. And then he told them that it's not just you will not attain love for me just by my physical proximity. It's by physically being with me. That is not the optimum way of awakening love for me. But by hearing about me, by chanting my names, by chanting my glories and the association with one another, that is how true love, in separation, hearing and chanting my glories and always remembering me and making the offerings of your heart to me, that is the most profound way of awakening true love for me. And this is what I am giving you. So they gave Krishna all the prasad, and then they returned. And when they returned, they found out about this one lady who died in the fire of separation because she was physically held back. And they were thinking how fortunate she is. Because in dying, her immortal soul went to enter into Krishna's leelas forever. And we have to do all this stuff for Krishna. With joy. And the husbands, when they saw the effulgence of their wives, the ecstatic love of them, they were overwhelmed. And they began to condemn themselves. That just see, we were so engrossed in these rituals, and the whole purpose of the ritual is to please God. The whole purpose of learning Sanskrit and studying and reciting verses is to please God. The whole purpose of all the mantras and the tantras and the yantras and the mujas and the pujas and everything else is to please the Lord. And we have perfected the external form of the rituals. We have perfected our pronunciation of Sanskrit hymns and prayers. We have perfected the art of doing the yajna. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. But the purpose to please Krishna is the only thing. And Krishna asked us to please him, and we were so absorbed in doing things to please him that we didn't please him. Does that make sense? That's basically the situation of most religious people today in the world, of all religions, including our own. It's one of the trappings of Maya. We forget the purpose. We get so absorbed in doing that we think the thing itself is the purpose. It's like Rupa Goswami tells, if you're worshiping the deity and somebody comes into the temple who really needs your help, then it's your duty to stop the deity worship and help that person. Because that's what Krishna wants. But if we're so absorbed in I want to please you, Krishna, I want to please you. Well, this is how you please me. No, I want to please you. We could learn hundreds of verses, thousands of verses, and chant them beautifully. Kirtan. Yagyai sankirtana praya yajanti hi sumedasa. In this age of Kali, those who have the best intelligence will take shelter of this sankirtan. Kalera dosanide rajanasti heka mahan guna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha parambraje. In this age of Kali, which is an ocean of faults, there is one benediction. Simply chanting the holy names of Krishna, of Lord Hari, one can attain the supreme perfection of liberation. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Ras Vigraha. That Krishna is none different than the name. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarava Shaktis. All the potencies, all the powers, all the sweetness, all the beauty, all the love of Krishna is within the name. The supreme infinite love of Sri Radha is in her name, Hare. Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna incarnates in his name in this age of Kali. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Therefore, it's the prime benediction for everyone. But the idea of kirtan is to please Krishna. So we could learn so many bhajans, and we could sing so beautifully, and we could study classical music, and we can sing like Gandharvas or Apsaras. And we could dance like Gandharvas and Apsaras. We could play instruments like Gandharvas or Apsaras. They are like supernatural devas. But the whole purpose is to please Krishna. If we're proud, I am great scholar, I am great singer, I am great pujari, I am great cook, I am great manager, I'm great orator. And that pride causes us to think I'm better than others, arrogance, and in doing so, we actually mistreat others. Then the whole purpose of what we're doing is lost. It's meant to please Krishna. Samsiddhir haritosha. Trinada pisunichena tarorivaseshna. This type of humility, this type of forgiveness, this type of offering respect, that pleases Krishna. There's that beautiful story in Srirangam where there was that Brahmin. And he would sit in a courtyard of the Ranganath temple and recite the whole Bhagavad Gita every day, over 700 verses. And this was the high seat of learning for the whole of South India at this time. So all the great pundits and scholars, Vidyans, they'd all come there, and they would recite the Vedic hymns, and they would discuss with each other very profound Vedantic philosophies. And here's this person, this Brahmin, he was practically illiterate. And people would laugh at him. People would ridicule him. What are you doing here? It's like someone going to, a scholarly symposium at Harvard University, where the greatest scholars are on stage, and then somebody comes on stage and really doesn't know anything about anything. What do you think about? What are you doing? What are you doing here? That's the way what are you doing here? But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, came, he didn't pay attention to all the great scholars. He went right to that man. And he saw he was crying. He said, "Please tell me, what are you reading?" He said, "I really don't know. Sometimes I say it right, sometimes I say it wrong. I don't really know. I'm illiterate. But my guru ordered me that I should come and sit right here every day and recite the entire 700 slokas of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm just trying to please my guru. Whatever people think of me, whatever they say about me, I'm just trying to do my seva." Then why are you crying? He said, "Because as I'm reading, I'm just seeing this beautiful form of Krishna, who has this wonderful dark complexion, who's so beautiful, who's driving a chariot for his own devotee Arjuna, and who's speaking Bhagavad Gita. I'm just seeing this beautiful form of Krishna, and my heart is melting." Lord Chaitanya lifted him up and embraced him. He said, "You are the supreme authority of Bhagavad Gita, because you have understood the essence to please your guru in such a humble spirit. And therefore Krishna is revealing himself to you." So certainly if we have the capacity to learn singing and learn speaking and learn cooking and learn managing and learning whatever, even giving donations, you can give 10 million rupees. And if it's given with love, Krishna will accept it. And if you give one little tulsi leaf with love, Krishna will accept it the same way. We give according to our capacity. So these Brahmins, they were so embarrassed. We are doing all these religious ceremonies, but we completely missed the opportunity to please Krishna. And our wives, they attained the absolute perfection of life. They are liberated souls now. They have prema bhakti now. All we have is all this knowledge and abilities, but we have no bhakti. We have nothing. They have nothing but bhakti. We have everything but bhakti. And then they started becoming very, very enthusiastic. They were saying, "To hell with our rituals, to hell with our mantras, to hell with our tantras and our yantras and everything else. To hell with it all. We had the opportunity to serve Krishna and we didn't do it. Because we're so absorbed in doing the things to try to please Krishna that we forgot to please Krishna." So somebody said, "Well, why don't we just go and bring food to Krishna now?" But what if Kamsa finds out and he will punish us? So they didn't go. Even they knew all this stuff, they still didn't go. The ladies they had no fear. Bhajahure manasri nanda nandana abhaya charanara bindare when we take shelter of Krishna, then we are free of all fear. Fear personified is afraid of Krishna. And the fear in this world is a good thing if it helps us to take shelter of Krishna with our whole hearts. And when we do, we become fearless. But that person who gives fearlessness to anyone who takes shelter of him, he's afraid of Mother Yashoda. Yes? When Yashoda picks up a little stick, he runs away. And when she catches him, he's crying. He's crying, crying, crying. Please, please, please. This is love. Krishna is conquered by his devotee. Devotee is conquered by Krishna. So in this beautiful little narration that we're speaking today from this verse, we find the very essence of all knowledge encapsulated and revealed by the great acharyas in each and every one of these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Is there any questions?
Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I have a doubt that there are many devotees, like recently we have seen the passing away of Shamdas Prabhu. Now this devotee was completely committed to Krishna consciousness, and the passing was not so proper, means he could not, we don't know whether he could remember Krishna or that. Plus we have recently seen our group of devotees, they left their body in Nepal. Well, these devotees have given their life, they have completely committed themselves in devotional service. That the passing is not so, it's not giving so much inspiration, or we don't know whether they were able to remember Krishna. Antakalecha Mameva, Krishna makes it so clear that you have to, if you remember Krishna, you are going back home, back to Godhead. But these devotees, we don't know whether they could remember it or not. On the other hand, we see many of the materialistic people, they have never thought of Krishna. They have no Krishna consciousness. And some last moment of their life, some nice thing is happening, and they have such a wonderful passing out. And they could remember some nice Krishna conscious atmosphere comes up, and we see it such a wonderful death. That person has not even thought of Krishna. That person has not at all having any clarity of Krishna consciousness also. That person is able to think of Krishna, and here are the devotees who have given their life. We don't know whether they have been able to remember Krishna or not. So sometimes doubt happens in our life. What is going on? And that perplexedness is coming up. So my request is, Maharaj, can you just clarify it out into this?
Just to give some background to our guests, he's one of the top consultants in the Bombay Stock Exchange. So he's Ananda Vrindavan Prabhu. And he's very careful about where we should make our investments. And he's especially very concerned about the returns that we get from our investments. Bhakti does not operate on the same philosophy as the stock exchange. For great devotees like Shyam Das Ji and others, everything is auspicious because they've given their hearts and their lives in loving service. And Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, where he explains that there's certain auspicious times to give up one's body and die, and there's certain times that are inauspicious. But for a devotee who surrenders to him, it's always auspicious. Krishna's there for his devotee. So we cannot, what a person is thinking at the time of death, the only way we can understand this is not by that moment of death. We can't necessarily see what's in their heart. But we can understand their life. If a person is always trying to please Krishna and serve Krishna throughout their life, Krishna promises, Manmanabhavamad bhakto madhya jimnam namaskuru. Mami vaishasi satyam te prati jani priyoshi. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. In this way, see? In this way you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my friend. This is Krishna's promise. So for a devotee who is earnestly, honestly, sincerely trying to remember Krishna, trying to serve Krishna, trying to be Krishna's devotee, chanting Krishna's name throughout their life, it is Krishna's promise. He or she will come to me without fail. That's how we understand, not by our mundane vision. Yes? Somebody's totally materialistic and they say Krishna at the time of death. That's very nice, but they're not going to achieve the same destination as someone who's given their life, their soul, their heart, and everything. Huh? They will certainly get blessed. They may go to Krishna. So the second person you're talking about, who has a really nice, sweet passing, but has spent their lives in materialistic, selfish egoism, but they have a really nice passing and people come and chant Krishna for them. You don't know where they're going. They may go to Krishna because they're hearing Krishna's names, but you don't really know. But someone who's given their lives, whatever, whether it's in a plane crash, whether it's in a motorcycle crash, whether it's, in a coma, whether it's from cancer, whether it's, drowning in the ocean, whatever it may be, we know for sure that Krishna's going to be with that person. Because Krishna assures, it's his promise. What on the material platform may seem inauspicious, it doesn't have relevance to one who's giving their hearts and souls to Krishna's loving service. Everything's auspicious. In one sense, it's some people, old age, slow, painful death, yes? And people are around chanting. That's nice. But in another instance, you don't have to, you're just in good health and back to Godhead. That's quite auspicious, isn't it? You think auspicious is just, just getting old and just can't move and can't suffer, and people are around chanting prayers for you, and you're like, and it's going on for year after year. That is auspicious. It is auspicious because you're getting Krishna. You're getting your all the sufferings of your old age and disease is wiping away whatever little karmas are remaining, and you're hearing Krishna's name, so you're going to go back to Godhead. It's beautiful. But it's pretty, it's how auspicious it is where you don't even have to go through that. With just one incident, poof, and all your karma's gone and you go back to Godhead. You just close your eyes and you open your eyes. So we see not through these little balls called eyes. We have to see through the eyes of the great saints, what they speak to us and what the scriptures tell us. Shamdas Ji is such a saintly person. He would perform wherever he was in the world. He would have his Srinathji Murti and he would perform puja for hours every day. No matter what. He would personally cook for his Thakurji. He would dress his Thakurji and bathe his Thakurji. Sing, offer puja. Learned all these beautiful arts of singing. Tens and thousands, if not hundreds and thousands of people were inspired through his beautiful kirtans all over the world. He resided at Govardhan. His mother's a state senator, extremely wealthy lady. And he's living in a little kutir at Govardhan. Yes? He's totally absorbed in Krishna. And he loved to serve everyone. Willing to endure any kinds of difficulties to serve others. Happily. So a person who's living that life, we know that Krishna, yegatamam prapadyante, Krishna reciprocates. Our faith is in Krishna's promises. Our faith is in the word of the acharyas. So Krishna's there. So whatever the material form is, it's totally auspicious.
So Maharaj, the verse which is said in Bhagavad Gita, Antakale Chamamima, is for the outsiders. For a devotee, it is not at all meant?
Yes, it is for a devotee. Because if we don't understand that, we won't prepare. Antakale Chamameva Smaran Makva Kalevaram. Whatever you remember at the time of death, you will attain. If you would remember me at the time of death, you will attain me without fail. So we have to read that. It's not that somebody comes and tells you that verse at the time of death. We learn that verse now, today. And therefore we try to remember Krishna always, and we try to please Krishna always, and we try to serve Krishna always, because we know padam padam yadvi padam natesham, death could come any moment. So that verse is for everyone, including devotees. But what we should understand is the remembrance of Krishna at the time of death is not something that you can necessarily see with your eyes. That remembrance of Krishna at the time of death, the culmination of your desires, your aspirations, your longings in life are going to manifest as your last thought at the time of death. And if you give your life and your heart to Krishna, that is going to be your thought at the time of death. Krishna will reveal himself as that thought at the time of death. Sarvasya chaham hridishani vishto matasmidir jnanam apohanam cha vedaishcha sarveraham eva vedyo vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham. Krishna tells in the Gita, I am the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. You cannot remember Krishna at the time of death unless Krishna reveals himself to you. It's not something mechanical. Even if somebody says, Krishna, in your ears, you may be thinking about the money you're losing. Yes? Somebody's saying, Krishna, in your ears. Certainly you're going to get benefit, but you may be thinking about, oh, I don't want to die, and And I'm going to have to leave my husband or my wife, and I'm going to have my house. I haven't yet finished decorating my house. That's what's in your heart. Meanwhile, Krishna! So Krishna, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Shani Vishnu. Krishna is the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And if we've pleased Krishna in our life, Krishna will be there to reveal himself as that last thought of remembering him at the time of death. And for a person who gives their life, we know for sure, because it's Krishna's promise, that he will be there for that devotee as that last thought. He will remember. Krishna will reveal himself so that devotee remembers. So the mechanical way of somebody who's in illusion, and it's some causeless mercy that somebody's there chanting Krishna in the name of, or even Hare Krishna. And that's wonderful. That's extraordinary. We should do that for everybody as far as possible. But for devotees, Krishna is going to be there in whatever situation. And they will remember Krishna. Does that answer your question? In your language, even if there's a total even if there's a total crash in the stock market, if they invest in bhakti, then they become multimillionaires. Haribol. Everything will be all right. Yes, Radhe Shyam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for such a very inspiring class, Maharaj. You said some two very interesting things about the coward boys, why they wanted to eat the fruits. They were hungry for Krishna, and they wanted to glorify Balaram through this episode. This very attitude is so pleasing to hear about, and oftentimes, as you said, in the material world, the default attitude is that one always thinks about oneself selfishly. So, is it a script of the mind that makes people think more about themselves and less about Krishna or other devotees? Or is it an attitude problem? Is a problem of the heart? So I wanted to know the difference and how this attitude could be changed, because this attitude seems to be a very deep-rooted attitude of being selfish and not considering about others.
This ahankar, or the false ego, misconceives that I am this body, I am this mind, I am the controller, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer. And this basic premise of the ego, which is foundational to all material complications, it impels us to put ourselves above others and act selfishly. And then it becomes a habit. And according to how that we habituate ourselves by making those choices, we become more and more ingrained in that way of thinking. It's like the habits in this world. If you smoke a lot of cigarettes, you become addicted. And the more you smoke, the more you become addicted. And then it's very difficult to do anything without feeding your habit. It becomes a craving. I've been a guest at many Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. And people tell about people who are sober discuss what they did when they were addicted to alcohol or drugs. And the stories they tell are shocking. How they would steal, how they would abuse their children, how they would abuse their wives, how they would abuse their husbands, how they would abuse their friends, how they would... Everything was for their habit. Some of them, they discuss that they were literally monsters. They were demons. Their entire life was to beg, borrow, steal, kill, abuse, anything to feed my habit. And then when they became sober, they could actually understand what it had done. When you're in the middle of it, it's so tumultuous, you can't really understand the effect of what you're doing because you're so much a slave of the habit. So that's exactly the way the ego works. Our selfishness, our arrogance, our greed, our selfish passions, our anger, our envy. As we make choices to feed these habits, the habit becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And it could get so strong that we can justify anything. But sadhu sangha sarva sastra koi lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. When we associate with sadhus, with saintly people, then we begin to understand actually what I really want in life and what my condition is. And then we'll take the medicine and take the way of life by which we can become liberated from this. So each person has their own unique state of conditioning according to how they have fed their particular habits in their life and how they've aggravated it. So bhakti is the process of staying away from the bad habits and replacing them with good habits. It's a thing of the mind, it's a thing of the heart. Enechi asadi maya nashi baro lagi harinama mahamantra lao tumi magi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, he gave this simple offering to everyone, that I have the medicine that will cure you of all the symptoms of this disease of ego and ignorance. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But we have to take it we need the association of sadhus so that we understand how to take the medicine of the holy names. Lord Chaitanya not only gave the medicine, but he gave the prescription of how to take it. Trinadapi sunichena, taror ibasi hishnana, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadhari. To be humble, to be tolerant, to be forgiving, to offer honor to others. Gopi bhatur padakamali das das. To actually have this mood of being the servant of the servant of the servant. If we are humble and respectful and we live with proper moral values and we deeply value service, then when we take the medicine of the holy name, it will free us from all of these addictions. It will liberate us from all of these sufferings. And it will awaken our true health, which is prema bhakti, ecstatic love. Does that answer your question? I don't even remember your question. We'll have one more question. Yes, Sri Ramaji. Very enthusiastic.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, this story of the Yagic Brahmanas really always, wants us. I mean, I personally feel it is so wonderful to hear about how simply by hearing from the Brijbasi ladies, they really got so attached to Krishna. So, Maharaj, I personally request you to kindly tell all of us on what is the perfect way of hearing. We learn from these Brahman wives that we can get this attachment. We have been hearing for last 2 decades or more from at Radha Gopinath temple. So much facility is available here to hear. Our temple is providing so much facility. How do we really do this intense hearing so that we can get attached? What are different components required for hearing? It would be really kind of you, Maharaj, to explain to us. For so many years we have been doing it, but I don't know.
I'm waiting for this opportunity. We should improve our sound system. But on a more internal level. The Srimad Bhagavatam answers your question. Shushushro Shuddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Pundya Tirthana Sevanat. That simply by hearing about Vasudeva, Krishna, Vasudeva Katha, when we develop a taste for hearing about Krishna, Srinbatam Sukata Krishna Punja Sravanaki, then Krishna cleanses all the anarthas, all the unwanted ego. He cleanses selfish lust and envy and anger and arrogance and greed and illusion. They are all cleansed from the heart by the pure sound of Krishna's philosophy, teachings, pastimes, names. But the Bhagavatam says in order to develop that taste for hearing, we must sincerely serve the great souls. We should be eager to hear and eager to serve. Our service attitude is what actually pleases Krishna. And then when we hear about Krishna, Krishna's actually there. If we make aparads, if we're envious, if we cause harm to others through our words or through our actions, even if we hear, Krishna's not pleased to reveal himself in that sound vibration. So the most important thing is our eagerness to hear and our eagerness to serve, to honor, to respect, to please. Every living being. We find among the great sages how they offer love and respect to everyone. Shivananda Sain was offering love and respect to the little dogs Vasudeva, the leper, was offering love and respect to the worms that were eating his body away. In today's story, Krishna is offering so much love and respect to all the cows and the goats and the buffaloes. And he's offering quite a unique type of respect and honor to Dhenukasura, the ass. Yes. He's the well-wisher of everyone. So to the degree we actually become well-wisher with that eagerness to serve, that we can develop that taste for hearing. Does that answer your question? Yes, Mataji had a question? Yes, yes.
We know Krishna's heart is the softest, but sometimes we see he torture his dear devotees like Radharani would make her so angry that she doesn't want to even talk to him. Then Krishna will do such things to pacify her. So can you explain why Krishna test her devotees and to put them in complete distress?
Such a nice question. Srimati Radharani, her anger is only to increase Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna makes her angry only to increase her pleasure. It's not material anger. Krishna makes Radharani angry so that she can perform a lila to show how he is totally subordinate and conquered by her love. Yes? When Krishna is angry at when Krishna invokes anger in Sri Radha, then Krishna comes and sheds tears on her feet and begs for her love, just to show the power of her love. So that's a very transcendental, ecstatic form of distress. Now, as far as us, we're put in distress because it gives us a sense of urgency. It gives us a sense of sincerity. It's like, I've told story when I'm flying on these airplanes and I'm chanting, I'm usually going Hare Krishna, Krishna, like that. But when and there's these sirens going off in the plane and they say we're about to have an emergency landing, and we see underneath there's about 30 fire trucks and ambulances, and they say we're going to have an emergency landing because the control system of the whole airplane has blown up. And you hear babies crying, and you see the airline hostesses shivering in fear, and the pilot's trying to sound composed, and he's saying, emergency landing, everybody, put your heads down between your knees. I wasn't Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It was the best chanting I ever did on an airplane. Yes, because sometimes emergencies and distress wake us up from our complacency. Because the tendency of human nature is we become complacent. We do our sadhana, but it's with complacency. But real sadhana is we're actually taking shelter, we're hungry, we're starving for mercy when we're doing we're giving our hearts, we have our full attention, our full focus, our complete concentration on accessing Krishna. And sometimes distress helps us. So it's a blessing.
Can I ask another question? Sometimes we have to please everyone. If one non-devotee offer us vegetarian food, but it's not cooked in devotion to Krishna, can we accept and offer to Krishna? So at that moment, what prayer shall we chant to avoid contamination from this non-devotional mood?
What prayer should we?
Yeah. For example,
according to how a person prepares food.
We don't know what mood they are preparing.
Well, the consciousness of the person cooking is going to be the energy within the food. And from a spiritual perspective, it's not the vitamins in the food that make us spiritually advance. It's the energy in the food that nourishes us. And the bhakti that goes into the food is the energy that's going to nourish our hearts when we eat. Yes? It's not... It's, high cholesterol may block material arteries. But if food is cooked with anger or with greed or with pride, that's like cholesterols for our bhakti. It can block the flow of our bhakti from flowing. So when food is cooked with love and devotion, it has that energy that awakens our love and devotion. So as far as possible, we should eat food that is cooked with love and devotion to the Lord and offered with love and devotion to the Lord. And when that's not possible, then we should do the best we can under the particular circumstance.
So can we say, Krishna, we have no choice. We have to accept such food. So sometimes we are forced to take such a non-devotional food. So can we say we have no choice, Krishna, we have to accept. Please free us or protect us from the sinful reaction.
Are you from China?
Yeah, I'm from Shanghai, China.
Well, I'm proud of you.
No, sorry.
Chinese, everyone likes Chinese food. Especially in India. It's amazing. I'm walking down the bank of the Ganga in Rishikesh and I see these restaurants with big signs, Chinese food. Sometimes I see sadhus and they're eating Yes, you have seen? Radhe Shyam Prabhu? He doesn't eat there, but he has seen it. But in a situation like that, where there's not that many, ashrams and devotees to cook, then you have to honestly and sincerely try your best to live a very pure life. Take those pure foods that Krishna accepts, pure vegetarian, and as far as possible, cook yourself with love and devotion. And if you're somewhere, then, take the purest possible foods you can find at that place. Yes?
So one more question can I ask? So you said Krishna killed the demon Dhenukasura. He also showed his respect. So he threw him on top of the tree. I don't understand in what way he showed his respect.
Everyone likes your questions. It was actually Balaram that threw him on top of the tree. But as Balaram threw him on top, he whirled him around. And he actually became so dizzy he gave up his life. And then Krishna and Balaram, they liberated his soul. Can you imagine what his karma was? He was daily eating humans. What to speak of any other animal? Anything he could catch, he would eat. He was a murderer, he was cruel. And Krishna gave him liberation in this spiritual world. That's a very good kind of respect, isn't it? You know, you and me, we may bow down to somebody and say, I am respecting you. But Krishna is giving them liberation in the spiritual world for their eternal soul. Because aham bija pratapita. Krishna sees everyone, even the most, every species of life. Krishna is seeing that Atma as his own beloved child. And when he comes to this world, he comes to actually give the highest opportunities for everyone. So he respected the soul of Dhenuka to the highest degree by giving him entrance into the spiritual world. But you see, we can't do that with each other. We can't start throwing each other on tops of trees and saying, I am respecting you. Unless you have the power to liberate them forever from birth and death, better that you touch their feet rather than throw them on top of trees. This way we can all be united in the chanting of the holy name. Thank you very much.